Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 7th Rec and Parks Advisory Board meeting. Hopefully I already had a chance to review the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
Give me a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, approved. All right, on the agenda tonight, we're going to talk about recreation program plan.
Yeah, I'll lead us off there, but going to get us through it is Jessica Hale, the Recreation Division Manager. What this plan is, it's all part of the accreditation process. There's going to be, and part of the accreditation process is some of the guidelines, the plans, and where is the approval come from. Is it commissioner approval? Is it director approval? Or does it need or have Recreation and Parks Advisory Board concurrence? And this is one that we want to share for you to have concurrence with the plan. Now, we're not asking for that tonight. So here, and Mr. Vice Chair, what I'd like to do too is get this a part of the agenda for November meeting.
Okay.
You'll hear from Ms. Hale, and she's going to go through it, and you can ask some questions, but then I'll give you the month to look through it and then make some decisions in November. And there's two other items that we're going through tonight that I'd like to recommend for the agenda for November meeting. But this is the first one that I'm recommending, but as you know, that the board decides on the agenda. Okay. So Jessica, Jessica's going to lead us off into the recreation program plan through the Department of Recreation Parks. That's part of our national accreditation.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. What we wanted to do is kind of go through this and break it down a little bit. I'm not going to go through every specific page, but at least give you some sort of background and idea of what you're looking at and what the purpose of a recreation program plan is. And so through National Recreation and Park Association, we're provided a great number of resources, and one of those resources and how they describe what a recreation program plan should represent is a guide to the creation, promotion, and delivery of leisure experiences, and that's what we've done with this plan for St. Mary's County. And then we can go to the next slide. And National Recreation and Park Association developed a reference manual for our use and guidance, and it's called the Management of Park and Recreation Agencies. And basically what it says is that a recreation plan should suffice for a 3 to 5 year period, where it is giving the department direction and being updated, but also currently including what is active with the department. So it's not just about recreation division. So the way that we're split up is recreation, parks, golf course, museums. This is any leisure experiences across all of our different programs. It just happens to have the name recreation in it. So the plan addresses all programs and services of the agency's programming functions. It includes activity selection, type, and scope of programs and outreach initiatives. So that's kind of the basis for putting together this recreation program plan. So we didn't have anything formalized. This is our first formalized plan. And as we go to the next slide, what I'm going to ask is that you all kind of follow along with the table of contents of the plan, and I've broken it down. And so what I wanted to just highlight tonight are these things: staff organizational structure, kind of going over what our structure looks like, our programs and services, how we include participant involvement, and then of course the scope of our program opportunities. And then we'll have any questions or impressions at the end. And the way that I wanted to start out is basically our organization. So if you look at our organization with Recreation and Parks, we're comprised of really 5 divisions. So if we include what I just spoke of and then add administrative, you can see the different type of positions that we have. And in the plan itself, it's very detailed. It has the name of the staff, what their responsibilities and duties are. And so this is just kind of a summary of what our structure is. And then I wanted to make special note that this also recognizes for an organizational structure is certifications. And so what the certifications do is it lets the citizens know the commitment to ongoing education for professionals, and for having a certain standard. And since 2020, 5 staff have earned their Certified Parks and Recreation Professional certifications. We got a couple more on deck that will also be going for that, and that is probably the top level of certification within our field that is recognized as dedicated professionals. So that brings the total up to a total of 6 staff that have the CPRP. And then there's other certification and designations as well across all of our programs, from parks, museums. We all have our certain standards based on the profession, but overall, as a department, that is going to be documented in our recreation program plan so that citizens can see that commitment to our professionalism. Okay, next slide. Programs and service determinants. So this is the foundation, the principles of offering recreation services, leisure opportunities. And there are several of them. There are 6. So we have conceptual foundations of play, recreation, and leisure, which is basically the concepts that are detailed on pages 14 and 21 of the plan. Organizational agency philosophy, and what this refers to is basically your mission statement, your vision, your objectives. Constituent interests and desired needs, which is starting at the bottom of page 9. And then it goes into constituent-centered culture and experiences that are desirable for clientele, and community opportunities. So those are the 6 program determinants that National Recreation and Parks has decided that is what an agency should focus on to provide quality programs. But I'm going to focus on 2 in particular tonight, just to kind of give some examples. The first one's concepts of play. And what NRPA states is that play, leisure, and recreation meet the needs of a community that promote freedom of choice during one's chosen discretionary time, regardless of age, ability, ethnicity, or financial status. And so that's the basis for everything that we should be offering, is this concept of play, this concept of freedom of choice. And you'll see all those details on page 9. And there's different components of, these types of foundations of play, these concepts of play. Self-directed, I go to a park and I want to walk on a trail. That's a self-directed opportunity for leisure. Or there might be leader-directed programs. So maybe I want to do swim lessons. That's an opportunity for me to learn a skill, and a lifelong skill. And then also cooperative programming. So it's working with other agencies to provide services and opportunities for people to engage in leisure, such as partnerships with the schools, where you're able to offer before and after care programs. So those are kind of the different examples of concepts of play and how our agency is able to offer that to the community. The next example I wanted to demonstrate is on page 12. It goes into much more detail for community opportunities. And basically what that says is that a community provides a vast network of opportunities for recreation programs and services. We understand the need of services not met, and it should be the goal of the organization to focus on those. So if we've got something else in the community that's meeting a need, we want to complement it or allow that organization to take that on, whereas our role is to provide those other services that aren't being provided. So that concept is very much aligned with working as a community partner and then providing those opportunities. And some of those opportunities that we provide are, 23 parks, 17 playgrounds. We have an 11-mile bike trail. All of those things that we're able to offer as a recreation department. And then, of course, all the other programs. Now, we might offer the same programs as somebody else, but the idea is not to necessarily compete exactly. There's plenty of room for everybody to offer tennis, right? Or possibly opportunity to provide it for health and wellness programs, those kind of things. Okay. Next slide. Participant involvement. Participant involvement is kind of a crucial key in any successful agency. Basically, park and recreation agencies may involve participants in the program planning and decision-making process in many ways, and agencies can employ many methods to promote citizen participation. You all are prime examples. So advisory boards, having the citizens at the table, assisting with making certain decisions and having certain influence. Citizen advisory groups, ad hoc groups with gymnastics. We have an ad hoc parent committee that meets on a regular basis. Certain interest groups, public input meetings. We're having one coming up for Snow Hill, how that concept plan is going to be influenced by the citizens. And so that's a way that we offer participant involvement, which is very important. And then, of course, surveys. We are very much front line with having surveys every time we have a program. Anytime there's something we would like citizen input on, we offer those opportunities for people to be involved and participate into the decision-making process. Okay, next slide. If you move forward, you'll notice that scope of program opportunities, there's a rather large matrix that starts on page 22. What this does is it demonstrates all of the different programs that we have captured information for participation numbers. So this changes. This is a very fluid chart that happens on annual basis that would be updated. Currently, what you're looking at is FY19 figures. So you can take a look at that. So if we move on from program matrix, immediately following that is outreach to underserved. So what these scopes, the scope of program opportunities, what that really is doing is it's following an established objective. So it's figuring out what we need to provide, how we're providing it, and then documenting it. Activities should be suited to and contribute to fulfilling of the basic physical, emotional, social, and intellectual requirements of an individual. So with outreach to underserved populations, a lot of the things that we do as an organization that promote this is the ADA transition plan, making sure that we're analyzing and identifying all the areas in our parks, facilities, and programs that meet those ADA requirements. Another program that we have that's specific to a certain need is Camp Inspire. It's for children on the autism spectrum. That's something that we do in conjunction with the public schools to offer a 5-week program every summer for that population. Another example is our cooperation and partnership with the Special Olympics, offering them facility space. We worked with them this summer. We worked with them during COVID last year so that they could at least have some type of programming. They had a swim meet at Great Mills Pool. They did a very modified basketball skill program at Carver Rec Center. So it's providing cooperation of spaces for those individuals in that community that want to be able to participate. Reduced fees, that means a scholarship program. Well, we have a very robust scholarship program to offer those in need the opportunity to still have access to recreation programs. I think you can go to the next slide, Christine. Oh, nope, I thought I had another one. No worries. Go back to the other slide, that would be great. The other big component is going to be community education and a commitment to that and through health, wellness, promotion opportunities. This is through our marketing programs and services that we offer. It's speaking to local interest groups. It's serving on interest committees such as the Healthy St. Mary's Partnership, having a seat at the table when decisions are being made, the Tobacco Free Parks Initiative, the Walk St. Mary's Initiative, and having that input and that influence to provide those services. Social media outreach is huge. That's how we connect a lot with the community on a very quick basis, free. Which is another component that, marketing can be very expensive. And we just try to find as many ways as we can to reach all parts of the community. And then also participating in promotional events. Just recently, the county fair, having a table there, having some giveaways, getting the word out about what Recreation and Parks has to offer. Doing presentations on the base, working with PACs, working with several civic groups. So that community education, promotion of our health and wellness programs is very important. And then the last piece of the program opportunities is to point out on pages 30 through 31 are statistics and trends analysis. Maintaining that information is really important, especially when you're looking to increase programs, looking at capital improvement projects and the impact it has. We follow the department's strategic plan. We also look at our SWOT analysis, and that has an impact on the type of programs that we offer or don't offer. And then maintaining a community inventory of opportunities. So not just what Recreation and Parks offers, but what does the community have in terms of leisure opportunities for everybody in the community. That is the very brief overview. Obviously, lots more there for you guys to read and look through, but that's kind of a broad overview to really kind of break it down into smaller pieces to see exactly the main components of the plan. But it's a pretty comprehensive plan, and we followed to the T what NRPA recommended, and hopefully you'll find it easy to follow.
So what I'm asking is, there's some questions tonight to see, but so when we come back, is if there's something that's glaring, that's missing, that meets the need of the community, and especially with regarding input, offerings, under the needs, the statistics, the big paintbrush picture, and then you concur with the plan. That would be the objective for next month.
So we can review it from now to the next meeting, and the next meeting will give concurrence.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can, even in between, if you have some questions, you can send it to me and Jessica, and we'll answer any questions you have. This is just part of the one, because we feel that this recreation plan is something that, because when we talk about community, well, then the community is even involved in this. And so I think Jessica's done a super job, and I'm going to ask for a brief report. Chrissy doesn't know this, but before we move on, because this is part of accreditation, I want her to tell us where we are in the process, because her and Kathy Bailey are the stalwarts to that, and that's getting here, and they're doing a good job. So congratulations to you on the job you did with this part. So any questions?
No questions? Okay, excellent job on that.
Agree.
The brief's amazing.
Very nice.
Well, so two things I want to ask you. Christy, give us a brief update.
Okay.
Brief update. And then, since this is first on the list and didn't ask for it before on the agenda, I thought y'all might want to know about the Wellness and Aquatic Center. Since
Yeah, I was
we've
gonna
been there.
get to
So
that.
instead of being that at the end of the day, since this is first on the list, this is the one that's going to answer it. She'll
fine.
do that after Christy finishes
Okay.
with accreditation. Is that fair?
Perfect.
Okay.
So CAPRA accreditation, we have all written our drafts for each of the standards inside of the CAPRA accreditation, gathered all of our supporting evidence, and we just did a partner swap. So everybody that had a chapter that they wrote, we've all read another chapter and critiqued it. So we're well on our way of getting all of that done. A lot of it is still gathering information that the recreation plan is one of the things that we're waiting on to get signed to go in. The ADA transition plan's another one that is waiting as evidence to be added into it. So it's still a little bit of gathering, but I'd say we're about 95% through the gathering stage and writing stage. Then once that's over, there'll be a lot of behind the scenes between Kathy and myself and finalizing it and getting it ready to be downloaded for review.
Awesome.
Thanks, Christy.
That's good. Yeah, thank you.
A mountain of work, and Christy and Kathy both have done excellent.
Yeah.
You ready for the Wellness and Aquatic Center?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Rolled right into it.
All right, so the WAC opened September 13th, I believe was the day, and we are just excited to be there. Just wanted to give you guys a quick overview if you haven't been, or if it's been a while, obviously encouraging everybody to come. We are open 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 12 to 6 on Sunday. Really good reception in the beginning. It's continuing strong. The most important to a lot of citizens was the reopening of the pool with the warm water and therapy type classes, arthritis classes. Those are going really well, aqua aerobics. So we're excited. So I just wanted to do a little brief few slides here. This is the floor plan. So the facility is a multi-use space. We have a fitness room, which is complete with weight equipment, cardio equipment, 2 group fitness and dance studios, very nice spaces, lots of good equipment. And then we have 2 pools. So it's what's known as like a competition pool. So it's 6 lanes, lap lanes, and it can accommodate, obviously, lap swimming. It also accommodates the St. Mary's County Public High School Chopticon. It will be their home base for their practices as well as their meets. We also have Rockfish swim team that practices, and then Riken also will be joining us this season, swim season. We'll be able to accommodate all of those teams, so we're excited about that. And then on the other side of the pool is a therapy pool. So it has a 0 depth entry, which is very accessible.
Thank you.
And there is also a little area, a seated area with jets. So all kinds of therapeutic components, definitely very much used. There is a grandstand seating for competitions that's outside the glassed area. So the entire pool is glassed in. And then you have a nice area where people can watch competitions. If any of you have ever watched swim competitions or been in a pool, it gets very humid, you got the chemicals going, so it's nice to be able to sit outside of that and have a viewing area. We have a nice front desk area with wonderful staff. We have been incredibly pleased with our staff, so excited that everybody's working together as a team. There's dedicated office spaces. Marva Kumpf is our program coordinator for leisure and wellness programs, so she is heading up the facility. And then we have filled our TR coordinator, our therapeutic recreation coordinator position.
Yeah, I
This
saw that
person
today.
will start at the end of the month, and they will also be located at this facility and be able to focus on adapted aquatics, other TR programs. To have a dedicated space and a facility to offer that, we're really excited about that. So that is coming soon. There is a resource room that's perfect for meetings and training. And then there's, of course, locker rooms and a huge open space atrium area, which we're excited for possible events in the future. So just a great layout facility. Next slide. So here's some pictures. They're not the most up-to-date pictures, but this is before we actually moved in. But you see the entrance area on the left. In the center, it's a long hallway with huge tall ceilings, wonderful natural light through all the windows in our front desk. And the next slide. You're seeing the back side of the stadium seating with the bleachers in the middle picture. Just another angle of the hallway where our administrative offices are going to be located. And further down the hallway on the left is where we have the, exercise rooms, the fitness rooms. And then there is, on the left-hand side, that's where all the weight machines and cardio machines are located. Another angle of the stadium seating looking into the pool through the glass, and then another stock photo of the pool, the lap lane area, competition area. Purchases for passes are available online. Everything is listed on there. We have a web page completely dedicated to the Wellness Center with all the links to all the information you need to know about what we have to offer. If you go to the next one. So we decided after our first week, we wanted to do an inaugural membership survey. Everybody who came out that first week and were so excited, we sent an email to them with a link to a survey. 23 responded out of about 60 emails, I think, that we sent it to. And we met or exceeded all expectations in all those bulleted items that you see on the left-hand side. So we were just completely tickled with that response. So as far as facility appearance, our front desk customer service, which we got a lot of responses, people commenting at how friendly our staff are, how accommodating and information was very clear that was given to them. All of our staff, our overall cleanliness and access to information. The top 3, so one of the questions was, what is your purpose for coming to this facility? What do you plan to use in the facility? And the top 3, warm water therapy pool was number 1, lap swimming and aqua aerobics. So clearly, our first week, our members certainly are very much interested in the pool. And out of 5 stars, they gave us 4.5 stars. So I think that's pretty good for week 1. So we were pretty pleased with that and wanted to share that with you guys tonight. So.
Because for a while there during COVID, it was totally closed down, wasn't it? There was nothing
Yes.
going on in there.
18 months.
Yeah, so to have it up and running like that right off the bat is pretty good,
Yep.
I think.
And remember, this is a lease agreement Commissioner signed. it's expected to be self-supporting, the expenses of the building, although there's some expenses that the College of Southern Maryland is still taking on, and I want to say our partnership with them, Dr. Comey and the staff there has been excellent and working things out. Our IT department was very strong getting us in the building, and then also the support of Public Works Building Services. And then Jessica and Marva, they took it and ran, and I'm very pleased and proud of them and the facility.
I'm interested in the programming for the fitness room spaces. I know that there are probably a lot of trainers or county trainers or, exercise outreach engagement that might be interested in hosting classes. So what does that look like? Or is that something that's going to be planned?
Well, right now, what we've done is we've done recruitment for
In-house training?
instructors.
Okay.
Yes. That is taking a little bit longer getting off the ground, but to be fair, we're only a few weeks in. So recruiting for that, our goal is to have a robust offering of classes. Currently, with the lease agreement, CSM is offering classes in one of the rooms.
Okay, cool.
Right now, that is being reserved for them.
Right.
And then when that's not in use by them, we certainly are able to do that. But we are still continuing to explore all the different options, what that would look like renting out to outside groups. We do that in all of our other facilities.
Right.
So we would have to examine what that would look like. But that is definitely something that's still on the list to kind of finalize.
Nice.
Awesome.
I have a question. Arthur, you just stated that you expect it to be self-supporting. What kind of exposure is there going to be to the public if it's not self-supporting? And what kind of fees do you think you're looking at for people that are participating at the center?
Well, Jessica we've developed a fee schedule, and that's on the website. I don't have that with me tonight, Don, to go over all of them. But when I say expecting, that's our life period, is it's expected to be self-supporting. We did a lot of research on our fees to get them done with local facilities, some outside in the Mid-Atlantic region. We think our budget is going to cover that because one of the things that the College of Southern Maryland is still handling all utilities in the building. And you generally don't get a new building built in 2009 and the utilities and some other amenities there that are offered away. So our job is custodial expenses, some of the overheads, fixed costs that aren't related to paying your $10 or $40 to get in a fitness class, but whether there's 2 people in the building or 200, there's fixed costs associated with it. So Jessica, we talked about it today. I'd say probably within the next 8 weeks, not 8 weeks, 8 weeks total, in the next 4 weeks, to come over with that cost analysis. And we can talk about that in November. Where did we do in that first 2-month period? Did we meet, did we take in the revenue to pay our variable costs and our fixed costs? So then we know what we have to adjust to make sure we come out good at the end of the fiscal year.
Did you do any comparisons in relationship to the past attendance that the pool had based on what kind of family plans you may have for the pool or whatever the case would be? Has there been any analysis along those lines?
Oh, yeah. We went that and Jessica worked much with the staff there, Judy Farrar, and seeing what type of attendance I have. And let me interject one thing. The staff and the students of College of Southern Maryland are allowed to use the open fitness room, the exercise equipment room, and open swim time at no cost. That was part of the negotiation too. But again, that's open anyway. We're not losing any money. It's almost like a golf course and a green fee. It's open. Now carts, that's different. But so the building's open, they can use it, and it's no additional cost. So yeah, we did do an analysis of all the programs and what it took to come in. That was part of our fiscal analysis.
And the other thing that I failed to mention is that the memberships include everything. So it includes all group fitness, it includes aqua aerobics. You don't have to pay separately, you don't have to add on separately.
Okay.
It includes access to the weight room, the cardio. So that was a key component too.
So how do you say it? The more you invest?
So the more you invest, so if I get an annual membership and let's say I go 15 days a month, I end up paying about $3 per visit. So the more you go up, the more the value that you get out of your visits.
Right.
And just like with anything, it's what you make of it.
Right.
If you go 30 days a month, you're really getting a bang for your buck type of deal.
Is there any plan on that, in that membership for those who may not be financially adequate to be a member and afford those costs for some type of offset?
Yeah, we have a scholarship program to meet the needs of that, and especially for our youth.
And that's already been looked at for the center?
Yes, all of our programs. Thank you, Don.
So for the membership, I like the bundle. Is it also like a day visit, like I could, if I just want to swim today?
Yeah.
Or if I don't have a membership, I pay a certain fee? Okay.
Yes.
So with that fee, I was going to say, with that
There's a
fee, do you get
daily-
access to the whole thing?
There's a daily drop-in, which is
That's what I
access
was
to
thinking of, yeah.
everything. And then because we're very aware of the lap swimming community, obviously from what we know with Great Mills, we did do a separate lap swim daily drop-in, which is less than
Right.
your overall. So your overall, really, if I'm paying $10, I can go into the weight room, I can take a yoga class, and then I can hop into an aqua aerobics class and then swim some laps. Now, you're a fine-tuned athlete if you're doing all of that in one visit. That's great. Good on you. But those are the opportunities that you have available to you for that drop-in.
I want to speak to two things. One is that we might come out with something new, because we have heard from the users. One says, hey, look, I'm never going to get in a pool, and you've bundled that together. Can I just get a price to go
Right.
into the fitness room, the machine area? So we're working through that, and that might come out as a Christmas present for everybody, so that we start that new fee, because we're listening to the public. The second thing I want to mention, we made contact with Cherry Cove, the owner of the hotel there in Leonardtown. The new one, the refurbished one. And so what we're doing with them is providing use of the fitness center for their guests, and then they reimburse us. So you'll go to they can advertise with them same pictures on their website, right? Saying it's 0.8 of a mile away. And then so now you know you can have, while you're here staying in Leonardtown or staying somebody in Leonardtown, you will have that. And then when they come over with the ticket from their front desk, we'll collect them. At the end of the month, we'll send them back and have a report, and they'll reimburse for the visits.
Good.
Yeah,
So I like partnering with Leonardtown in that way.
Great idea.
And the community.
that definitely is a good, it's a good opportunity.
Good. All right, any more questions? Anything? All right, thank you, Jessica.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, Snow Hill Concept Plan.
Now, this plan, we're not going to, I'd like to not, just be brief here, because this, is it Tuesday, October 12th?
Yes.
Tuesday, October 12th, is our public meeting at the Hollywood Recreation Center, inviting you to come to that. You see the flyer there. We put that out to public. And the entire time, we've had an ad hoc community team with us, working with the design firm, A. Morton Thomas, to get us to this point. So, but remember, the major focus of this, and you can look at that bottom right section where you see, is a boat ramp to the Patuxent River. That's a priority for the commissioners. Then over the top in that Roslyn Creek is a kayak. And remember, it was bought with program open space money, $1.8 million, no cost to the county, state funds, local, and state program open space. And the third source of revenue was the REPI funds from the Navy for conservation. So that puts an easement on our deed there that says then we're going to maintain that as more of a passive park, not too many facilities and structured use. So you can see a lot of those there. You can ask some questions. We've got the date if you'd like to come by on Tuesday. You'll have this, and then we'll just probably give you a report again in November. November is going to be loaded again, Chair.
Yep.
That's my second one, so really I have 4 to discuss this more after we get that public input, and maybe get another rendering from the design team and get that ready for the November meeting. And then you see that, then say, okay, we want to start putting our fingers on it and talking about it. But you can ask any questions now. Is that good, Chris? Is that?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add is for social distancing purposes, if you do want to come to the meeting on Tuesday evening, if you just email me or call me or tell me this evening that you want to attend, so I can make sure that there's a seat available for you.
All right.
What time is that?
6:30.
6:30, okay.
The former Hollywood Elementary School, Hollywood Recreation Center on Merville Dean Road.
Merle Dean.
Yeah,
Is there a
A. Morton Thomas will be there, then staff and the ad hoc group, and just talk talking about how we got to this spot with some of the different thoughts of the group that signed up to be on this committee with us. And then let me also tell you, we've already got the funding from the Waterway Improvement Fund of $500,000 to go to up to $500,000. It's 50-50. So we're thinking this dual boat ramp and parking is going to be $1 million possibly, with all the planning work and everything there. So half of that has already been allocated from the state.
Is the, I know this is further ahead, I'm just asking anyway, this horse trail, and is that going to be allowed for bikes on it too, or is that just going to be horse and walking?
I'm sure the days go by, but it'll be more diverse, but there'll be times for the horses too. In
Okay.
other words, so really when you say a horse trail, as much as what you're trying to do, it's almost like a dog park or anywhere else. Some people don't have places to go as much or different. And it's a place to get them out, and then probably say weekends from 7 a.m. to 9, that horses be out there, then your more other active uses. Or in the evenings, just be designated times
Right,
to
right.
begin with, and then.
Yeah.
And then trails are a big part of this. We're looking on our surveys that people like trails. Small disc golf course.
Nice playground?
I will say on the trails on the right side by the beach, those are proposed as water trails, so that would be walking boardwalks and things of that nature,
Okay.
not necessarily for any biking.
Right. Yeah, 'cause it's all swampland in there, ain't it? Or
And
marshland.
and there's a site on here for a small wedding venue.
That'd be nice.
And then if you look at that bottom right corner, that red piece, that's the what's the archaeological dig area where they found some
Yeah,
potential.
yeah, yeah.
So what has to happen if we wanted to take that boat ramp through there? Then it would have to be a second dig. But right now, since we're going around, they don't have to dig again. And then our historical determination says nothing on the property meets the historical mark regarding the building. So if we wanted to take them all down or do whatever, we could. But the archaeological did prove that some matter may be there.
Okay.
How big of a restroom is that, are you looking at for that?
3 stalls.
I'm just saying, this is a pretty big piece of
Maybe
property.
one. Yeah,
it
I mean,
is.
that's,
There's a
one
lot
of
of
those.
woods out there.
Yeah.
Is.
And so I just, if all these are part of the proposal, I don't know if you even need to consider a second location for restrooms. Because when you have the boat, you have a lot of traffic in and out when you have the boat people. Just a thought. I mean, especially if you're up in the area where the disc golf and that picnic area would be. I know it doesn't necessarily look it on this map, but that's a pretty good distance from that.
I would think them treehouse pavilions might be, maybe throw a porta potty in them or something.
Well, no, that
Just a thought, just a
no,
thought.
and that's
Way
the
out
great,
there.
and that's
Yeah.
great input. And then we all
Yeah,
agree
we
to that
might need a
because one of the
bathroom
things
up up on this
Yeah.
end.
think
I-
where we're going, we just been in the restroom at Dorsey Park for 2 weekends. That's
Yeah.
it, that brand new one, and very well received up at the top of the hill where the football field.
Yeah.
Lexington Manor Passive Park, a new public restroom. And then we're in the money, we're going to put a new public restroom at Chaptico Park adjacent to the turf fields there. Those are big enough for the, because if you was at homecoming at Dorsey Park for the Wildcats, all the parking lots were totally full, and that restroom handled it, that we built there.
In regards to the layout here, what's the ADA accessibility in these areas? Or I can't, are these gray areas grassed? Are they pathways that are can be?
Good, Chris.
So you have to keep in mind it is a concept plan, so their areas are just kind of designated for each of those type of items. The specifics on what those items will look like haven't, outside of the boat ramp, have not been designed, that those are items for the future. But any new construction we do, the ADA is always going to be followed to the T, and most of the time we exceed those limits as well.
So that's currently being looked at
Yes,
with this
sir.
concept?
Yes.
Oh, 100%, Don.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So really, right now, the boat ramp is the definite that's looking like it's happening. The rest of this is just what could happen with the property.
Yeah, in your first phase, yeah, it depends on how the commissioners allocate that, but you're going to want to get in. So think about it. What would have to be there if you had a boat ramp and kayak ramp? Restroom,
Parking.
Yeah.
some other minor things, renovating the one house so it could be a wedding venue, the road in.
Yeah.
And then you'd put the smaller, low-cost amenities in there. So it could be, done in 2 phases. So very good, good catch on that, Mr. Longobardi.
Yep.
And then your open grass areas, is there, let me put my glasses on. Is the hammock area still in there?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, the Hammock Grove, it's over to the right
Yep,
by the
Hammock
beach.
Grove near the beach.
very nice.
Yeah.
Is the access road going into this going to be gated?
Yeah,
Gated
it
now.
currently is,
It's
too.
gated now.
Yeah, currently
Gated
is.
now? Okay. I know there's a person there. I didn't know it was
It's a
gated.
dirt road right now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Public Works, when we met with them the other day about all of our projects, and we also, they're doing a traffic study on Sandgates Road, because certainly some of the neighbors might even be there that night and talk about how are people getting in and off this road and affecting us, and then what's your future plan? Because if you're thinking about it, because people that don't know, what if this was a site for a sports complex? Whoa, wait a
Oh,
minute. But it is going to be passive. It's of all the parks so far, of Myrtle Point, Elms Beach, and this one, this is one of our most preferred, but least attended, but I don't think it'll stay that way once these,
Right.
and especially if you get a boat ramp there.
Yeah. If you get all this
Right.
stuff here, oh, yeah.
Bay, oh,
A
yeah.
ropes course,
Right, yeah.
you're going to get people there.
How many boats
It'll just be the boat ramp
do they
that
have?
brings
Do you know?
people
Oh, yeah.
to the
And the
bay.
kayak launch, yeah.
The initial boat space we put in, 24?
For parking,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then,
Right
and
about
the- yeah, so you can bring up to 24 trailers and vehicles. Mhm.
That would be used for the horse trail if it's put in too, because people will bring their horses by trailer.
Oh, no, they'll probably just go in the
Oh,
field.
somewhere
No,
else.
we'll work that auxiliary, yeah, that'll be auxiliary parking.
I'm curious about the, is that, the existing farmland, is that there just because, or is there just there are no plans for it as of yet, those areas?
Okay, so the existing farmland, and we certainly have a lease for that. We have a family that
Farm it.
Oh, okay.
that pays us to farm it.
Oh, okay.
And a nice fee, but not a,
I didn't know that, okay.
oh, what's the word? It doesn't turn it over that much to be impactful. So, but we like it because also in that comes bush hogging. It also comes somebody in there with equipment that's in the park and takes care of that. But certainly, if we begin to look and see need more of that space and cut into it, that's what we'll have to do.
Yeah.
And address that in the lease.
Yeah, I'm seeing that right there.
Yeah, and what we're finding out, and Christie, correct me, in the ad hoc group, and I'll say this with them too, and enjoy it, that they don't want that many amenities there because, they like it when it's 75 people there, just yourself.
Yeah.
So if you grow it, but they like the farm look, the agricultural look, and one of the things I do want to do is keep some farmland for sure, because think about those once a month farm day Saturdays and teaching and children and families and things like that. So that's that's a piece of passive recreation right there.
You get too much in there, it'll be overcrowded.
Yeah.
There'll be more people than parking.
So Mr. Longobardi hit it right. It'll be in phases, and we'll work it out. And then we're the first ones to make sure we have the amenities to support boat ramps, kayaking, restrooms, and the sort.
Awesome. Any more questions? Anybody have anything else? All right, fiscal year 2023 budget discussion.
Okay, you're going to get that calendar. There you go. This is my third recommendation will come in here, but you see our calendar, and let's get down to, well, we're here in October, so nothing's. Our first budget work session is going to be the capital budget on November the 2nd.
Okay.
And what that does is we come in here and the commissioners then begin to set some priorities. Move it to the left, to the right. What's up with this one? Can we move this? We have more money, we have less money. And then we'll come back on for the final county CIP to the commissioners in January the 3rd. So that gives, so in the November, December meetings, I want to talk about, put on the agenda to talk about CIP, because you see we're still in the calendar.
Right.
But I'd also like to talk about the operating budget. Can you scroll that up a little bit, Chris? Up, yeah, that way, yep, up, down. Let me see where that one is. Well, we have time to do it in November, December timeframe for the operating.
Okay.
Because what I'd like to do is just yesterday, I received some information, some recommendations with our youth sports baseball component of youth sports. So I think in that email that I received, I'd like to put on the agenda, the November agenda, for them to have a place on the agenda to speak with the board.
Okay.
And then by hearing it in December, we'll have time, November, we'll have time with some recommendations to work it still in the operating budget. Because there's going to be some affecting the CIP, but also operating budgets.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Parker, so that's what I'm thinking. So you all have the schedule, you know where we are, we have time, but, not a lot, but November and December, or especially November
Yeah.
with the CIP, then December with the operational, and then we can get it in time for the budget submittal.
Nope.
If that's what we concur, or if the director, ever how the process works
Yeah.
out. But I think that the leagues, they had a nice email written, I think, and I've met with the leagues in our youth league leader meetings, and so I think it's time that they want to come in and maybe put it on the record in the public and speak to the board.
I think
Is that
that'd be
fair?
good. Yep, that'd be good.
Okay.
Everybody good with that? Any questions?
We're good.
All right, the 2022 meeting dates.
I'm out of that one, Mr. Chair. That's yours.
So we just need to review the dates proposed. Wow,
Come on, won't open up.
over there. Bear with me for a second here. For the 2022 meetings, so I can, that is not it.
Nah.
There it is.
Yeah, I can get mine to open. Oh, there it is.
So we can just go through and confirm it, and then I can send it back to the county administration office to confirm our meetings for the next year.
Yeah, if anybody else does, I don't see a problem in any of them dates. Doesn't look anything conflicts with a holiday.
May I comment?
Sure.
Okay. With the budget coming, generally, we've showed some flexibility regarding the January meeting.
Okay.
But this year, you can see it's almost a week out. It's January the 6th.
Right.
So I think the board needs, I'm just making notice, but with the budget coming, and it's going to be a strong one, is that we commit to best you can the meeting on the 6th.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when it's on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, it's
Yeah,
part of
I think last year was right after we didn't
But with the
have
6th, I'd like the board to be cognizant of that, and
Yeah,
that's all
no.
I'm doing.
No, I think that's good.
It's yours to decide.
Yeah. Is everybody good with this schedule?
Yes.
Everybody good with it? All right, we're good. All right, our last agenda is Land Preservation Park and Recs Plan
This is the last in the new
in
business.
the new business,
New
yes.
business. And this you have a handout for. There is no attachment in board docs.
Okay.
If you don't have it, you can raise your hand, I'll bring it to you.
Nope.
Okay, the Land Preservation and Parks and Recreation Plan, and I'm working off this executive summary right here. And on that it's time. It's 5 years. It was last approved in August 2017, and you can find the current one on the website. Every 5 years, that's part of the state and the DNR for funding purposes, but it's far more than that. It's a great planning document. I use it far more than I thought I was. And the purpose of it, I'm going to just read some things, and I think I've done it before. Our assets and our critical pieces of public infrastructure that define the rural coastal character. And so these resources, how we preserve them, how they meet our CIP, our mission, our vision, all them things, just like you heard in the recreational plan, are our lifeblood. So we, in 5 years, so this in 22, and now we start, because there's going to be a lot of meetings, a lot of working with the consultant. We've hired Green Play once again to do it for us. Christy is spearheading that along and doing a fantastic job once again. So with saying that, you are scheduled as a board, if you look at your schedule meeting, on October 27th from 5 to 6:30 at the Loeffler Building, the senior building in the Chancellor's Run Regional Park.
Right.
And what they'll do is the design team, the Green Play team, are going to be asking you questions, asking you do an analysis of is it going to be a SWOT analysis for them or that, or is that a staff analysis?
That's all just a staff analysis, yeah.
So we're in the process of now doing analysis through them, a SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, and opportunities. Staff is doing it part-time and full-time. You have an opportunity to speak to the design firm as well. They want to hear from you in a major way. So this is brief. We're on it. Christie has started it. It's a piece that we must do, and we're glad to do because it's a planning document. And then number 3, you will have full professional opportunity, and then again, well, they'll be talking to all sorts of user groups, and you can see it on the schedule. Yeah. And then August, September of 2022, we'll have a new approved document that's approved by the Commissioners of St. Mary's County and drives a lot of our decisions. Anything else, Chris?
Yeah, just add 2 things. One, our land preservation parks and recreation plan does act as our master plan for the department. And it is a requirement through the state of Maryland for program open space to be able to receive all the program open space funding that we do for our projects and facilities. So it's a critical document for the department.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the significant difference between that and the recreation program plan that's newly developed? Like,
The recreation program plan's concentration is on programs, solely on programs that are serving the community. The land preservation plan, it has an agricultural section, it has a natural resources section, and then it has the parks and recreation section, which is a lot about facilities and land acquisition and our levels of service to the community as a whole, not just for programmatic services.
And the recreation plan is almost a subset, Mr. Longobardi, and then but it's also, that's a requirement of national accreditation. Land preservation, parks and recreation plans are a requirement of the state for funding, but plus it serves as a great document for planning and a resource. So in other words, a pragmatic way, staff's there one day, hey, you sure it'd be nice to have a dog park in the northern end of the county, and then you look at page 102 because you have that recall, and you go look, and that was approved that we need to fit the inventory, 2 more dog parks in St. Mary's County, strategically located in the south central county, and then that drives you moving forward pragmatically.
Okay, and it says the schedule is draft. Is there going to be so is this pretty much solid, or is there still could be some change?
It's solid,
Okay.
Solid for you guys, at least.
yes.
Okay. All righty. Anything else on that one?
It's getting busy around here, isn't it, Coach?
Yeah. All right, we're good on that one. Old business, ADA transition plan?
Christie.
So what I have pulled up, I attached and sent it to you guys because I know it is a huge document. It's a lot of information to review. So I did download it. I do have a couple extra copies up here if anybody wants to take a printed copy home. But what I brought up on the screen for you is the simplified fiscal year schedule. We did move up as requested Bagot Park to next fiscal year. Again, these were picked from a number of reasons. One, the biggest is usage of the park. Also, the needs of the park. Some of them may only have one small little thing it needs to be done, so it's bumped up on the list just to have that park done and taken care of. But as you can see I hope everybody got a chance to read through that document over the last couple weeks to see the work that went into it.
Yeah.
We have taken pictures of every deficiency there is. So it's easy. It doesn't matter who picks up the manual. They can see right off the bat what the problem area is with an explanation on how we plan to fix it. And then this fiscal year schedule of when that is going to be addressed. I do want to stress again, if a citizen has a complaint with a specific problem area at a park, we address those concerns at the time. I'm not going to tell them that they have to wait to 2009. We'll figure out a way to solve those problems sooner, even if it means pushing something back in the plan. The plan is a fluid document. Things can change on a regular basis. Even some of the things that are outlined in here with some of the projects we have coming up, there'll be some of those ADA concerns will be addressed sooner than what's on here. A good example is we're purchasing picnic tables to replace in a lot of the pavilions. So in the transition plan, a lot of those pavilions are not, they don't have enough tables. So that actually would be solved this year, even though it's outlined for years to come. So it is a very fluid document.
Let me jump in real quick, because I don't know if we didn't meet in September, but you may have known, we may have discussed it, but, the governor provided some $85 million of appropriations for program open space funding in addition to your local acquisition that we receive each year, over $400,000. So in that, we have a plan for using that money, and we don't have to match in any way. They're not the 10% match. It used to be 75-25. Then because we have the land acquisition, it's 1.5. Charles got $3 million because it's based on population. So we received the 1.5. So part of it is, about 190 going to ADA?
Yes. 190,000.
So talk about that plan, if you recall.
So that will pay for all of the upgrades at Chancellor's Run, which the majority of those are walkways, repairing some walkways, adding some walkways. There'll be a little adjustments at the team player benches to provide an accessible space for a teammate at the bench itself. And of course, the picnic tables that we talked about. But the majority of that is asphalt or concrete pathways.
So yeah, that's an additional 190 that we weren't expecting to go to enhancing our ADA transition plan.
And 20,000 of that money will go towards purchasing 20 accessible picnic tables to distribute throughout the county, Chancellor's and other parks as well.
So you can do the math, that's $1,000 a table, but those are very, very durable.
They're going to last a long
Oh,
time.
they are,
Yeah.
they are. No painting, no maintenance, very durable. And now with those, and just want to give you a little commercial that 2 years ago, we got a chance to purchase that 350-gallon hot water power washer and goes places where you don't have water. So we'll be going to Lexington Manor this week where that pavilion is, that concrete, the top shell, and the picnic table. So we're doing picnic tables more often this summer now. So at the end of the summer, somebody's not getting they're getting the same thing that somebody got in May and June. So we're able to clean better, and those handle it. What is that? Rubber surface, rubber treated, and so they clean up well, and we have the abilities to clean them now, and we're very excited about that.
Good.
No rust, no rot, easily.
No, they're very good.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I'd like to remark that I think it's an extremely well-prepared document.
Me too.
I think our Rex and Parks staff should be really commended. If you have an opportunity to look through it, and I think that the public being able to go through it's going to be extremely important.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree. Okay, project updates?
This is going to do it for us.
Pretty picture time?
Pretty picture time.
Where are we at?
Project updates. That's pretty.
Look up for that one, I'm sorry.
No, we're good.
All right. You didn't take Lexington Manor?
Oh, you don't think I've been there once or twice. Lexington Manor, Passive Park, as we know here in St. Mary's County, the former Flat Tops. Let me tell you where we are. Well, you can see there, we're in the building permit process for that stage there. That's just a rendition from Hilton Head, South Carolina, to be honest
Say,
with
we ain't
you.
got trees like that here.
Right.
No, but we got those nice trees in the
Finish
parks. We've got our signage up with a little tree in it, our little logo for the Passive Park, so see that. You see in the center there, that's one of our partners now is the Lexington Park Lions Club. They're looking to enhance and improve with for those visually impaired, to be able to brighten the baskets. We're also talking about having some additional markers so people with special needs that get around, people of all abilities. And then they're still talking about having discs with beepers, sound, and the baskets with sound. So those that are more intensified impairment with visual needs then can participate. They're very excited to be a partner. They're also they're working with us on providing benches in both the Arts Park side and the disc golf side. So we're delighted with our partners, and Lions Club's one of them for sure. New restroom there, that's the size of those restrooms right there. You're going to go inside and 2 sinks apiece. The center section is your auxiliary where the pipes are and deep sink and all that. But the male and female, that now has the walls around the side to give privacy coming in and out and drainage. And that's the concrete pad that abuts straight to the asphalt. And so you can rollerblade right off the asphalt onto the pad. There's space. And then now we're going to come off there and go to part of the 1.5 mil is a 30 by 30 picnic shelter going to be put adjacent to that. So that's all in that area of the Arts Park.
Good.
Keep on moving. All right, look, see all that pavement?
Yeah.
It's there. So you see that one, that's one of the, at the top left, that's one of the roads that we cut in half. We took the 2 outer edges and cut it, so make those 10 foot wide, reducing the impervious surface on the parcel. So completely done there. You see the new entrance on what was, well, always been Eastern L, but used to be, that's how you got in there,
Yeah.
Eastern L, Western L, and Coral. Pavement was just done this past Monday, Tuesday. And then because you can see the truck still going up there, headed straight to Lancaster Park. Massima Trail, you see I have the logo, ours with the Boy Scouts, that's who helped put it in, and then the new sign that says Lexington Manor Passive Park. What else do we have going on there? We have a community garden. Christy, now you see all those partners there? That's legitimate. That's legitimate. Christy's having meetings with them now, and they're there. The interest is high to come around and have that up and running in the spring of 2023. Talk about that some more, Christy.
Well, we've gotten through garden design, how that's going to work. We've put up a budget, estimated budget. We are headed towards outlining the tasks for the management and operations of the gardens past the construction. The hope is to have drafts of all those items. We were hoping by November, now maybe by December, to be able to bring it to the public and start getting more input from the community members. But we're well on our way of planning, and each week or each month, there's more partners that are interested. We have a beautiful design. If you're interested more, I can obviously send you some information personally, but there will be raised beds. There will be in-ground large beds, and then there will also be a good amount of raised beds that are ADA accessible with a tile surfacing, similar to what we used to put in playgrounds, so it can be removed if there's anything that needs to be done on the ground surface, and then placed back down. Very high priority has been placed on making that an accessible area for everyone. Rain barrels off a shed, so they've gotten very creative and educational programs that are being planned to have down there from the health department, from the Master Gardeners, from the Sierra Club. Planning is well on its way.
And the Lexington Park Rotary. Leave it on that one for me for a second, so we can, especially to Mr. DeGrave's comment. You see the P there for parking?
Yeah.
That is county property that's between the passive park, and that's the post office right there on Tulagi Place or Coral. So with that, we're going to make that a parking lot, but it's not going to be, we're not going to put asphalt surface there. We're going to put the concrete blocks so that we're not adding impervious surface. And then also the lane there is going to be improved so we can have, that's where the ADA parking will be. Then the sidewalks improve. So see, then we go to the perforated dotted lines coming to the community garden. Christie's plan will show you, even there, you'll come out of that parking lot, you have 6 foot width on each side of a vehicle, so and space behind the vehicle, so easy transition out. You come out there, new sidewalk, and I'm going to show you that in a second. We're going to come out there, and now you can drive right to community garden, get there via wheels or with an accessibility needs.
Right.
And how much did it reduce the space by going all the way to Salomon?
By almost 200 feet.
Yeah, so it quickened that route. Now, let's hold it right there, too. So look at Salomon. That's our first road into the passive park on the right. We're going to have 6 roads. Let me see. 6 roads that are going to have the removable bollards. That's the first one. So you won't be able to drive in there and come into the park. They'll go right across that entrance. 42 inches high. They're going to be a forest green with
Reflective tape.
yes, reflective tape. Thank you for helping a man. And be there. And so that way, again, jog, bicycle, rollerblades, scooters, strollers get between, but cars can't, making it very safe there. Right up to Lay Drive where that restroom was. And then you can take a left to go to 235, and let's go to that. So you see it all right there.
Yeah.
So now the green arrow, that's Lay Drive coming in, and those roads, that wasn't part of the park project. Those roads, county road, they're crumbling. Not the infrastructure, but the overlay and the sidewalks. So the money was approved through some rescue fund money. The commissioners approved a request for rescue fund money, and Public Works is going to do the project. We approved the roadway now, and we're also, where it says signage, we're putting a four-way stop there type through Public Works and Ordinance, because that way it alerts you that bollards are coming up right there
Right.
in that next drive to allow no through traffic there, and bollards across Lay and across Coral. Removable, because that way, EMT, food trucks, band equipment, things like that, that can get in and get out for festivals and different functions. So that road, so if you go in there and say, I'm going to go look, well, I thought they had all the asphalt down. Well, that isn't a park project. That's a road, but the funding's there, and Public Works is on it.
Going to get done.
Oh, it's going to get done. Oh, and it's going to be nice. And we're going to have a stop sign there, so when you're coming in, it warns people to slow down, because, there's bollards there now, and there's a stop sign the other way coming in off 235. And we've already put our stop sign on at Eastern L. You saw that, so when you go out, whoa, stop, because you can't just pull out on the road. That's all we have to say about that right there. Okay.
Good.
So 3 Notch Trails, steadily working on the design. We have submitted the 100% design drawings to the Technical Evaluation Committee with county government and to the State Highway Administration. We are waiting on the design specifications and cost estimates, which takes us to the next stage in working with the State Highway Administration to get approval to put the project out for bid. But it is still a lot of steps in the middle before that goes out to bid, and that's
Do we
what
know what section this is?
This is Phase 8,
But do we know from where to where it goes?
245 to...
Oh, we're the one at Phase 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we could still move it.
Okay.
But the ones designated right now is where we're beginning now at the tower in Hollywood that's going to Harris Teeter. That's what we're currently doing on Phase 7. 8 will go from there, from that tower, all the way up to Friendship School Road.
Right, okay.
Or we could turn around and say, hey, let's go back from Baggett to Friendship School Road to keep that continuum going. So you could do either way.
Okay.
To Friendship or from Baggett to Friendship.
No, good.
Well, we haven't submitted any plans.
I'm going to skip right over Snow Hill because I think we pretty much gave you all the information that's on the slides
Pretty
there.
Beach.
Go to Shannon Farm.
Y'all know where Shannon Farms is, right? We've talked about that enough. Gate 3 of the base, Hermanville Road, right there, homegrown market. Instead of going down into Cedar Cove and through the neighborhood, now we're going to get to the Chesapeake Bay via a trail. So, you're going to have a 9/10 of a mile walk to get there, but still that's access to the bay, because you certainly can't build a vehicular traffic road. You can, but cost prohibitive is the way I would say it. But man could get his bike down there easily. The wheels, we're going to make it, and then Christie will talk to you about that slope portion, because we visited a trail, so we were very sure of the slope. So go ahead, Chris.
So the first quarter of a mile of the boardwalk area for the path down to the beach has quite a lot of level changes. And we were looking at different slopes to see what would be the maximum slope we want to have on that property, mainly for accessibility purposes. So after visiting a trail, we agreed that we didn't want to go any more than a 5% slope, which is much smaller of a slope than what the ADA and the federal guidelines tell you can have, but we felt like that was a lot more usable of a slope.
And that field trip, and that field trip was worth it.
Yeah, it was.
Because you could have said, oh, there's not much difference between 5 or 8, but we saw it.
There's a big difference.
And then we saw that difference, and then to meet what Mr. DeGraves said about ADA accessibility, and Christie then responded, we like to exceed with that at 5% exceeding.
And there will actually be a bridge that goes over a very steep part that would have had even steeper slopes than 8%. So we worked really hard to make sure that that was as accessible as possible. And that area will also have cutouts to the side. So when you're going down, it's going to be easy. When you're coming back from the beach, it'll have a little rest stops where you can pull off if it's still a little too much, whether it's a wheelchair or you're dragging your beach wagon with your 3 kids in it. It'll give you a chance to pull off and take a break. So the design of that part has been completed. We're working on completing the master plan, and hopefully that will be coming very soon as well.
Good.
I'm curious, because I've been looking at the 5-year capital plan. I see that funds were approved in fiscal year '23, but then no more funds appear for Shannon Farm. So what phase are we in? And will this be the end, the completion?
No. So what will happen there now is that this is because we're going into the '23 budget process. We're in FY22 now.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go to the commissioners, I told you about CIP, that's '23.
Got it.
So that first meeting we have, and they're setting priorities, then they'll be say, what are we doing at Shannon Farms? Hey, we would really like to see that going. Let's put some more in '23, add to that. Or, Ms. Shepherd, when you come back, give us some numbers for getting this done, and then we'll put some, and then we'll get some more in '24 to get that second phase. So we're right on time.
Okay.
And that's why you have this plan here, because it lays it out for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is that plan is what we'll be utilizing. We'll talk over, be looking at that, and then we'll be talking about that in November, okay? Fencing, Dorsey and Baggett, athletic field lights, you can read all that. The tennis courts and renovations, we've been getting a lot of compliments regarding that. And there's the restroom at Dorsey Park. Those are the walls that I'm talking about that came out. And since then, they put on handles and nameplates and signs on the doors. But that turned out, see, with that promenade, that place there, because it was packed, but nobody was bumping, walking off. Strollers could get all the way around, 90-degree angles. We even put the sidewalk straight to the building so that it really was accessible for all abilities. Let's say, what is that other one? Projects Coming? Yeah, Lancaster Park Playground, that's still in the mix. That's going to be a $500,000 playground, most of that money through Program Open Space. We are lighting the tennis courts at Cecil Park. The Musco's down there now, and Smecco, getting ready to get that on, and that's because there's 4 tennis courts there, and that's where they can hold leagues where there's 4 courts, so we want to light them. You see the rest of it. We're behind on those remodels, but that isn't us and that isn't anybody, but with supplies and workers, some of our vendors are just behind. It's just the way that one is. And then Roy's doing an excellent job working with Christie and the grant money and getting the Bushwood Wharf Pier back up to get, all of them are still usable, but just good improvements at both Bushwood and St. Edgo's. That it? Is that what? I didn't mess anything. Oh, the last one is DNR, meeting with them on site on Wednesday there. I'll be putting something out, and I'll let you see is that the footprint's just about here for that. 2-story, same footprint, going up over $2 million for this new museum. That one's coming down. And in the interim, the home next door to it was sold to DNR. And we were very excited for that. The county didn't have to purchase, and it's because the property we're on right there is DNR property. So now they conserve that to both pieces of property, and then naturally they'll put that in our lease. So that's where our office space will be while this is being torn down, and then our gift shop will be right across the street. So this is moving forward. That's very exciting there. And then you have that sheet.
Yeah.
And what's next?
Gymnastics.
Yeah, let's talk about the gymnastics center lease. They're selling the property there at in Lexington Park. It's a matter of fact, the company's called me. What can we do to keep you here, naturally, and they've, all the movie theater, Big Lots right through there has been sold. I don't know if they've gone to closing, but they're right there because I even got legal called me today. So we've been and we've looked at, we put together a ad hoc group there, so we have to do due diligence with the families. Remember, this is a facility that's fee-based, and it does do well. The fees and charges pay for the lease and all utilities. The only thing they don't pay for is Jessica, myself, and the other full-time staff person, but all other direct costs, utilities, lease, hourly salaries, equipment is paid through the fees and charges. So they have a lot of stake there. And so that one reason, and we have an ad hoc group, so we've looked at a building in the California area, a former grocery store there, and that doesn't look like it's going to make it. Because one thing, when you go, you have to have 20-foot ceiling heights.
Right.
And some different things, so that way you can be on the bars. And then if you get in a building, you'd still need that, if you can probably see one over here, is the pit.
Pits, yeah.
Yes, you have to have the pit, or they're going to go down and do that. And then there's stay, not so high of a potential, and then there's two pieces of property that could, in the California to Hollywood area, that a potential to sell and then build and then lease the whole thing to us. But just going to tell you again, the only challenge there is those rates. Well, I haven't heard the new rates, but they want us to stay. But if the rates did stay the same, then that's what we're working with the parents on, is that equation. If you do want to go out,
Yeah.
here's what it's going to cost, and then here's what it's going to cost per child. So we want to make that very clear.
Yeah.
And then in the end, the commissioners are going to decide who they want to sign a lease with. I make a recommendation. That's it for me. Anybody have any questions?
I'd like to comment on that gymnastics program, if I can.
Yeah, Mr. DeGrasse.
I'm looking at page 22 of the master plan,
Okay.
this one, right? And it talks about enrollment for FY19, gymnastic classes, 2,563. Is that the amount of classes during that period of time that were held? Is that
How many were
student
enrolled in
activity?
those classes?
Were enrolled in
Yeah.
that class.
So
That was a
basically-
surprising number to me. I never
It is.
realized.
A lot of the younger kids go to a lot of
That
that.
kind of membership was really there. And if you look at there's two sheets actually, I don't know how many of you may have looked at it, but that figure really stood out in relationship to attendance and the program that goes on there. I was really surprised at that number. But
Yeah, you're averaging that, so that means with 5
an
sessions,
enrollment
you're
number.
averaging 500 participants per session to get them in and out of that door.
Well, that time we went there and we had the meeting there, the place was packed.
And then you have 50 to 55 on the competitive team.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we're working out, is the equation. There's an equation, you don't need it, but let me just, the building currently now, because the children, the families pay more to be on the team. And then you can look at the hourly rates, and we do that. And then your recreation, it isn't a large investment, because you can come for 10 weeks, pay your $80, and you're done. And if you go or not, but a team's a year-round commitment. And so then some are paying up to $200 a month, so that's $2,400 a year. But you're getting more gym time.
Right.
All right. So really what it boiled down to is that the gymnastics team members are paying the cost for their instructors. But their instructors' salaries are much higher.
Right.
Now, so here we're going, and let's say if it increases, if we do go to a new spot, and let's say, I'm gonna make a number, but it's a $50,000 increase, should the gymnastics recreation people pay that a whole $50,000 their rates and not the team? And we're saying probably not. You didn't need to hear that, but that's what we have to do in the work and in working with the families, justifying fairness and the cost so that it's not cost prohibitive. But once again, we have a scholarship program.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, so when you
Yep.
said the 2,500 is based off of 5 sessions over the course of the year. So typically, that's not exactly, but the same 500 kids, for the most part, signing up for 5 different
That's
sessions?
a great question, but no, it has bigger turnover than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
So
But
you-
I'm
following
saying,
your question.
but I think that's consistent with all these sports. So when you're talking about 4,000 soccer, there's not 4,000 different kids per se. That's their spring and fall seasons combined.
and that might be 300 different ones, right?
Correct. So so you're talking maybe 2,300 kids. It'd be nice. It would be
I
nice.
used to know that one. I'm gonna look that one up again because out of that 2,500, I think it might be right in that 60%.
It would be
range.
interesting
That
to
would-
know that information for those.
That's a big one.
but
'Cause
just-
what we call them in the recreation business is unique enrollments. We have 2,500, and then we had 1,800 unique enrollments. 1,800 people went in one time. The other 700, that number, that was repeats.
Okay, so these are repetitive classes by the same students that attended.
Could be.
Could be.
different times.
Could be.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Longobardi and I are saying.
Okay.
I'm interested in that number too. But no, it's not the same ones. It's 500, but let's say it was 500 in the fall, then it was 500 again, but it was
That's a-
400 of the same and 100 new. And if it did that each time, you could see it was 500 new altogether and 2,000 repetitive.
Well, I'm glad he brought that up because that really changes that question I had and the answer I got. Because it's not
Not unique
the
enrollment.
amount of students participating, that's at different times of classes during that period of time. It's
Great
a little-
catch, Bob. Yep.
That's a little misleading looking at it this way. I mean, not that it's not a great program, I'm not saying.
No, it still
I'm not
is.
saying that at all.
It still is, and I'll have that because I'm interested in see it because that is big when you're doing programming, what you call unique enrollments and then overall participation.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm finished.
I do have some other questions in relationship to that report when we have time for it. Not the gymnastics, but the plan in total.
Okay. Anything else?
No, nothing
You
here.
good? All right, before we adjourn, obviously we have a new member. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself,
Donnie
please.
Graves, I was at the August meeting.
Oh, okay.
And,
Then new to me then.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's why I went over and introduced
Oh,
myself.
okay.
A couple of the members I hadn't met yet.
All right, well, welcome.
So,
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
no, I have some questions if I can.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'd like to look at for a minute with members of with the recreation plan. I waited till everything was gone through on purpose, I guess, and maybe I shouldn't have, but page 18, when I talked to Ms. Bishop, it may be a little difficult to get to page 18 of the report by some of you, but if I can indulge on that for a second, I'd like to. So if you're following on page 18, it talks about some goals and objectives. And the particular first, second, and third goal, I can't help to notice that a lot of these goals are not redundant, but also are expressed in a lot of the other parts of the plan. And then going to page 22 and 23, which is the one we were just looking at a minute ago, I had a number of questions there that I think were just answered when Joe asked that question as to participation goes, so I'm not even going to dwell on that. The last page I'd like to go to is page 30. And if you're all following on page 30, the SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and trends. And reading through the 30 pages, or it's actually 36 pages, I felt that it's important for us to look at this as a group and discussion simply because of W, aging facilities, projects funding, staff retention for seasonal positions, skilled employee retirements, parks and fields, recreation programs and activities. If you also take time to read the S, O, and T, these different things also appear along those lines. And with that in mind, on the 5th meeting, I asked the director about the need for more full-time staff for facilities, for maintenance. And I think that this report brings out and fortifies his answer that he gave those present, was that you're reading my mind. And with that in mind, and in support of the remark that the director made, I'd like to make a motion. And that motion follows. I move that the Director of Recreation and Parks request the county commissioners to increase the FY23 budget for more full-time maintenance staffing to protect the facilities and improvements of our parks. That's my motion. I'd ask for a second.
I would second that motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I ask something? It's not, this isn't
Nope.
my turn, but just.
Go ahead.
say something. I'm not prepared to do that just yet. That's what I wanted to go through the budget questions and do that and have the leagues present and us talk about that in those months. Because if we go to now that for the direction to be given to the director to make based on here, then we're directing instead of advising the commissioners. Okay?
Is the director saying that he does not feel more full-time staff is needed for maintenance in our parks?
No, I didn't say that. I just said as far as the mechanism to get there, as far as the direction.
Yeah.
That's a different mechanism.
It's not us.
And yeah, and we can, and we're not outside of and to help us all out here, I'm not even saying no at all. And we have the time to do that, and we're going to have those discussions. But really what I would do as a director is say that here's a recommendation, and this is what our Recreation and Parks Board advises and recommends. And that's what I do. And if they match, they match. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But to be directed, I don't believe is the total role. But that gives us time to, if I'm wrong, we have time if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to, before we call for a vote, I'd like to remark some more. I don't know if anybody else has a remark, but is everybody familiar with this particular sheet of paper? I don't know if you can see or not. This was passed out by the director in 3 meetings in different parts of the county with field usage people, so on and so forth, and was given out at the Comico Shores the last session. I don't know if any else was there besides Joe and myself, but it talks about field renovations, so on and so forth, that are being suggested for, I believe it's $500,000, Director?
I don't have that sheet with me. It's in there. So yeah, that's close enough. Yeah, that one there. Yeah, I can't.
So about half a million?
What's that?
About 500,000, I think, was the estimate for this.
Yeah, approximately right in there. I just don't have that sheet.
So I want my other members to understand that I'm making this proposal in support of the director, not in conflict with the director. And I'm making this motion because I feel it is supportive of the needs of the volunteers that have to right now take care of every field that they play baseball and softball on, and many of the soccer fields. The time and energy that goes into our volunteers that are out there 5-6 days a week, depending on the time of the year and the weather, to prepare field prior to and then manage and then close the field up is extremely time consuming, and because there's no full-time maintenance people there. I would also point out that there's no other county that I can find in the state, especially our sister counties that neighbor us, that allow the management of teams to go onto a field with their own trucks, cars, and equipment to drag them and maintain them. And this is just destroying exactly what we're paying another $500,000 to prevent from happening. So I hope that if this goes to a vote, it's in support of not just the staff that is understaffed in our county in relationship to full-time people, but is in support of the future of the maintenance of our parks and protecting the assets of our facilities, and also helping our volunteers do a much better job than they are right now. That's all of my remarks. Thank you for listening.
Sure. I don't know, we could just advise, right? We could just say.
That's what I was going to say. I'm a little,
Yeah.
I'm a little
Yeah,
misguided on your motion,
Yeah.
because we as a body, we don't direct the director. We just give him recommendations. So, I mean, of course, we all would like all the employees to get a raise and the volunteers to get a
more of 'em.
raise. Sure, but we can't tell them to do that.
yeah.
Okay, then I'm willing to amend any part of my motion number one, but I'd like to point out that it's a request for him to do it, not a mandate. All right? And if you feel that different language has to be there to support the motion, I'm willing to amend that motion.
The only question I have is if and we have to give the director time to look at it, is how would that increase the fees that you would have to pay to use those fields? And would the parents and them be willing to pay a little bit more to play baseball or whatever sport it is, because we are self-sufficient?
Right.
That would be the only question. And I think we need to look at both what it would take to get another person, what would the fees be, because people are very conscious about the fees. And the director and his staff try to keep the fees as low as possible for everybody.
But at the same
And I
time,
think that's
sustaining the
one of the
programming.
biggest parts of that, not just asking for more money, but how are you going to afford it later? If you add a staff, he has
Yeah.
to keep that staff employed, not just for that one time, for the
Right.
whole time.
Right,
He's
I
at.
assume it has to be requested into a budget, so something.
Yeah, so may I jump in?
Yes, sir.
No, I'm delighted with the discussion. Been yearning for this for some time, and Mr. DeGraves and remarks, that's why we meet with league leaders and bring in information back. But that's why I said it earlier, it was about asking if the leagues could present next month. Because then you would get the full breadth and scope from them, presentation in board docs, see some numbers, see some lists and all that. And then you would have a good chance. And then we would come back in December, and then y'all, you could advise the commissioners, then I could concur, because I don't
Right.
disagree with anybody, Mr. DeGrave's thoughts at all, because,
Right.
I mean, he knows the data, he knows what's out there, he knows where people are. But that's why I, early on, said, I asked if they could come on as a group,
Right.
who baseball is. Because I did, they sent a very thoughtful email within the last 2 days. And so, hey, so if I could go back and say, hey, you can be on the agenda to present at the November meeting, you then would have your information to talk about fees and include, baseball would include that in their presentation, as say, and I'm not saying that no, we don't want to pay any fees, or yes, we're willing to, or hey, we think that should be supported in the general fund, because those are always the three options.
Right.
None, revenue produce, general fund.
Right.
And so they can come with a nice presentation, and then you can make a recommendation for the budget at the December meeting I'd put in there, and then here we go.
Who was the organization that reached out the last 2 days, you said?
There was presidents of three of the leagues together, Babe Ruth Little League and American Legion.
Well, this is an interesting conversation because not only would personally just baseball, there are other sports, there are gym supervisors, there are referees, there are other persons. So not just looking at those volunteers, I'm thinking maybe every sport and their support at that point, possibly a delta analysis or however. So, you'd have to look at it all. I feel like you would have to look at it all across the board.
I think. Well, I would like to point out that this is not targeted. The full-time staff of the park is not targeted just to prepare fields. It's also there. It's a maintenance operation. Most fields in our sister counties have at least one full-time maintenance person at every one of their fields, all the time, day in and day out. That takes care of vandalism problems and opening and closing of parks, so on and so forth. Okay, so it's not recommended just for baseball fields. It's being recommended for full-time staff to adequate protect the assets of there. However, what I'm going to do is withdraw my motion. And yes, I am. I think that I've made my point, and I appreciate everybody listening. And I also appreciate the request that the director has made I think he's asking for consideration to postpone it. I'm willing to do that until he feels is more appropriate time. And I think that he may have also felt that there is, although support for the motion, that it's not timely right now. And I'm going to withdraw my motion based on that. But thank you.
It'll definitely come up again during the budget talks, I assume.
Well, yeah, that's, so
Needs to.
when I'll be, as a follow-up and in the minutes, I'm going to request through Mr. Murphy
Yeah.
to put that, and then I'll call and see if that's something they want to come in and present. And we'll hear from baseball, because that's a big one. Baseball is, well, we know that now, with the amount of groups, the fields, park maintenance. It's a new day. And that discussion needs to start now. It
Yeah.
can't wait, at least the discussion. I don't know how it's going to turn out,
Right.
but I believe the discussion needs to begin.
Okay.
Okay?
Totally agree. So we can get that on the agenda then.
I think that it may help the board, with me being a new member, to sort of tell you a little bit of my background with recreation and parks in the county, if I may take just one more minute.
Sure.
I go back to the Baggett administration. I was on the planning committee for the regional park, Cardinal Gibbons, Dorsey Park, so on and so forth. I was with Little League for 22 years before I started American Legion Baseball in the county for another 22 years. I was the first coach to travel with a soccer team to Western Maryland back in the day. So I'm not about one program, I'm about all recreational programs. So the presentation that was made on this was not specifically targeted for baseball, okay? It was targeted for full-time staff every place, okay? So, but I realized the job that not only Baggett had, but Rollins had, and I understand, the negotiations that have to be looked at in relationship to Director Shepard, who I watched play baseball when he was longer on dusty roads. And I won't go into how good he was or wasn't.
Definitely want to thank you, though, for bringing that up,
Yeah.
because it does bring up probably a topic that we may not have addressed.
Yeah,
Now that it's the budget time, it may not have been addressed. So it gives us something to at least
Yeah.
think about when it's appropriate for the director.
yeah, that the
I
commissioners need
might
to know.
add something in there. When you come to the Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan meeting for the advisory board, that's a very appropriate time to be discussing staffing levels
Yep.
and the needs. And it's very similar to the SWAT, so that's a
Yep.
good time to bring it up. So it's in the planning document for us to move forward with for the
Yeah.
future.
And it'll miss the FY '23 budget cycle,
Right.
but it'll be in the front porch of FY '24.
Right.
Well, I would
That's why I said it's
tell the
good to
board, I actually
give
had
us something
two
to think
motions
about.
I was going to make. One was one for '23, and the other one was for emergency funds to finish out the 2022 2 years, so I'll let that one go.
Awesome.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have anything? New business, anything? All right, a motion to adjourn?
I said a motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
All right, second?
Second.
All right. Everybody next month.